Hi, I'm Van. How you doing? Got a short one today for you, which is a small thing I've been working on, which is a weaving motif. And what I mean by weaving is some kind of idea that you've got one thing and you want it to look like it goes behind another thing. And what are the possibilities and limitations within that kind of idea for lighter covers and doing a repeating pattern. So let's have a look. If you look at this one, this is where I'm kind of like playing with it and trying to figure stuff out. It's really messy, and that's the way I work. I was using the colors here just to try and identify what goes where and everything, and figure out what are the constraints and what can I and can I not get done. One thing that opened this possibility up was when I started doing these 3x14s, right, where you've got 14, 7 beads per row, 14 for 14 columns between and the repeating. You can start to do things like this. I also confirmed to myself that while it's theoretically possible to do a little something on 6x7s, it's really just, it's not a workable thing at that level. 6 beads is not enough to make it. So here are the 3 patterns that you can do. And you're saying, well, what about this bottom one? Well, so the thing is this bottom one, it's actually is, if you could imagine, you could draw this line here and come right out here at this, and it doesn't produce a good effect as far as the weaving thing, and I'll show you that in a minute. The second one down, this is a 4 bead wide here with 1 point in the middle, and you start to see the weave where this guy comes up, goes here and goes behind and comes back out the other side. And then this is the thinnest, with just a 2 wide bar. And you can see it's also pretty obvious. This one I like the most, okay? The problem that you have is you need to have something in the middle to see, to make your eye catch it and see the folding where it's going behind and coming out and going behind and coming out, that kind of thing. There's got to be something in the middle. I thought I could get away with it here, and it doesn't work. And then finally this one up here, it does it, but it's really, it's got a lot going on in the middle. There's a lot of space. Okay, it's not necessarily a bad thing. You can do all kinds of stuff with this, but so pretty much this is your options: a 6 wide, a 4 wide, and a 2 wide. 2, 4, 6. They're all even numbers. Okay, and the reason for that is because the 7th is the border. Okay, and in this case we've got other stuff going on, but 6 plus 1 is 7, right? And that's the way this works on a 3x14. If you're going to do angled pieces, 7 beads. Now up here, it's 3 plus the other side of the border and then some space, right? So it always adds up to 7. Now as far as vertical height, this is the tallest one, this is the shortest one. And we'll see that on the piece too. I tried to do 3 on each piece, and you'll see how that works out. So here's the 3 different products, final products. Now again, with 3x14, you don't really see a lot horizontally because of the design of the lighter, but if you follow it around, you can see that it's seamless and everything works out. Alright, the 6 wide. Now what I tried to do here was use a fade. The other problem that you run into is that the 3x14, the pattern repeats so slowly horizontally, it's hard to catch the whole pattern on one thing, and that's part of the situation here. If you look closely, you'll see this yellow bead right here, this one right here. If you trace it all the way over, it starts up this yellow line over here. Similarly, if you look at this last dot of this darkest red here and trace it on over, it starts up right here. So technically this is the effect that I was after, but in practice does it look like it's weaving to you? No. Why? Well, because there's nothing for the eye to pivot on right here. There's nothing signifying that, hey, you need the black lines to move, okay, for the eye to pick it up. You could maybe make this work if these guys were very high contrast. Instead of fading with each other, they clashed, like a black and white. You know, like one bead black, the next one white, the next bead black, the next one white. It might show up. So setting aside the point that it totally failed as far as making the weave work, it's still a nice looking piece. It did all right. One thing I'll point out is, if you can see, I did do 3, but I actually ran into my border here, right? I ran out of space. That's how tall these guys are. So this is the next one here. This is, again, there's 3 of these weaves, but I had a little more room left over, right? They get shorter. And this actually worked out the best as far as I'm concerned, in that I had a lot of this color space here, just a little bit in the middle, to make the eye see that, hey, you know what, they were wrapping underneath each other. You can see that right there. It's real obvious now, and that it's going over. Turns out you need to have a little bit of something. The black is setting you up for it, but then the fades also, it's a lot less distance to see from here to here, or say from here to here. The eye will pick that up, okay? And there's more evidence, right? This line keeps going that way. So overall, it totally achieves the weave effect I was shooting for. It's a nice piece. Again, you'll see you got a little bit more room on the sides for a border, but not much to do 3 of these things. So I would recommend doing 2 or maybe even 1 and having some really fat borders with some other cool stuff in there. I have to see where my mind goes. So on this one, you get a big middle, and it's real obvious, but they're real stringy looking, right? These little thin guys going across here. And your ratio of color to black is higher. Another thing, I kind of did some experimental stuff here. One thing you'll notice on my fade is I got the lighter color towards the end that the lighter goes up. I'll look at it this way just for a second, and it'll probably look more 3D now. And the reason being is that the lighter color, take this orange here, this lighter color is on top, towards the top of the lighter. So when you hold it in your hand, you're generally going to have the lighter up. Most light sources are from above, and so having a slightly lighter, your lighter part of the 2-color fade on top gives it a 3-dimensional look, which is what we're going for here. Also, with this thing going behind the other, we're trying to give a 3-dimensional look. Now, I used white in these areas here. You could do anything you wanted to do. You don't have to do that. You could put patterns in there. It gives you a little bit of canvas in there to think about doing something, okay? In this case, though, I really wanted to just focus in on the ribbons and make sure that they showed upright. I had no idea. But you can see you got a little bit of canvas you could do something with. Other thing was I kind of wanted to do not a straight square on top. I just wanted to do a wedge. I ended up putting a lot of black in here, which I typically don't do, and that's kind of a weird thing for me. So there you have it. Doing a weave technique, you got, where you're trying to get this over and under look to it. There's really only 3 possibilities as far as the width of it goes. Again, when you're doing 3x14, this is it, as far as I can tell. And this one I like the most. This one I like second most, and this one it just don't make it. Even though technically it's correct, it just doesn't make it. So there it is. It's not a lot of options, just the 3. And notice that I just tried to do 2 ribbons going each way. One of the things I've been saying is, well, couldn't you do some general pattern that would be multiple things moving across each other, and it would look like a total weave like you would see on a placemat or something like that? Or, if you close up look at linen, something like that. And that's always a very cool effect for me, but I didn't work that one out. It'd be interesting to see where that goes. One thing I wanted to point out is that I'm not really developing these finished pieces that are like something I would be like, hey, this is the final product. I'm just trying to jam through these concepts and everything, and let those start percolating in my head. And my hope is that what I'm doing, by doing all this exploration early on, is I'm letting that stuff get inside of me and saying, what are the potentials? What are the possibilities? And then letting that cook in there a little bit. So it's like an investment. I'm making an investment in the exploration bank, the possibilities bank, knowing what's possible. So like a year from now, 2 years from now, whenever, I'll be like, oh, okay, now I can do this. And so I encourage you to do experimental pieces, as many as you can do, because they open up your mind, open you up to the possibilities, and later on they'll pay these huge dividends in producing stuff that's just freaking awesome, which is what we love doing, right? Freaking awesome stuff. Yeah, so that's it. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. I'm always looking to help people out, and I've found that helping you out helps me out even more. Have a good one. Oh yeah, man, I just got these new blanks, these metal blanks. Should be interesting. That'll be the next show.